I said my goodbyes to everyone, and I took off to go to Bremen, Bremerhaven, which was a port city in Germany. And there I boarded the ship called the Ernie Pyle. That was the same ship that Lola and Michael went to go to America. If you're thinking of a ship like you would go on a cruise, don't even think of it. The Ernie Pyle was a ship strictly for soldiers, to the wars that they took them as soldiers. So they took us in a big hold, and there were about 70 or 80 of us. They had triple layer hammocks all over the place. Because the ship was so rough on the trip, everyone was throwing up. Can you imagine those people who were on the bottom or in the middle? I was fortunate I was on top, but was also fortunate I wasn't sick. And the person right under me, he wasn't sick either. So both of us had good appetite. We were hungry, and the chefs in the kitchen were so happy to see that somebody is willing to eat their food. They took us in the kitchen and they made us steaks, anything we want to eat at all. Just they were so happy somebody, but of course everyone was sick, and those sick people couldn't even think of food. So we were eating all the time and making up for lost time. Imagine a whole kitchen. It was ours. My friend who lives below me and mine. So we're on our way, and the water, the ship was rocking like a going absolutely wild and crazy. So most of the time I was up on top deck because I couldn't stand the smell underneath. So we were on top deck all the time. And finally, after about 15 days, 14 or 15 days, we see the sky got bright. Before it was raining and the whole ship was going crazy. We see sunshine, and the sky got bright, and we see the Statue of Liberty. When we see the Statue of Liberty, something came over us. I don't know how the others felt, but I felt something, even though I could read it, but I couldn't understand what it said. But just seeing her holding that torch and like welcoming us made such an impression, all of us. I mean, it was like heart-wrenching. Suddenly we felt something is happening. And as we came closer and we saw the skyline of New York, my God, our eyes opened up. We have never seen anything like it. The ship came into New York Harbor, and they started to unload us. There was a waiting room, and my sister Lola and her husband Michael, with the baby, Heshi at the time, were waiting for me. Of course, after we embraced and we got our luggage and everything, we took a taxi. They took us to my sister and my brother-in-law's apartment, and we were so happy to be together. While I was there, of course, I went to school, and I went to yeshiva, Mesivta Torah Vodas, and at the same time, I had to help my sister, my brother-in-law, to earn some money. And he was selling hosieries. I started peddling hosieries. So I'd have a suitcase with hosieries and go to the Delancey Street in New York City, where everybody, all these peddlers were peddling their goods. It sold unbelievable. Women were buying them without even trying them on. Just didn't matter what size. The nylon hosiery was so popular among them that they didn't even care as long as they got a pair. And it was selling. But every once in a while, policemen came down the street and they wouldn't allow us peddling. We didn't have a license to do that. And there were peddlers all over the street. But these policemen knew what was going on. Who knows, they may have had relatives who did the same thing. So what they would do is, as they walked, they were whistling and singing. So giving us enough time to pack up our goods and walk away. But they knew what was going on exactly. So anyway, for a little while I was doing that. And then I started to go out with my brother-in-law to stores, and we were selling it to stores. My sister was very busy putting on little birds or flowers on the top of the hosiery. This made it a little different than from any other manufacturer. And the women went crazy for this. They loved that flowers, and she's an artist, so she put a flower on it, and it was selling good. But after a while, my sister Lola and her husband were highly Orthodox, real Orthodox. And even though I was brought up Orthodox as a child, but the war years sort of wiped out my religion. I just lost it. But, you know, it came back in their house, and the fact that I went to a Jewish seminar, which was very unusual, but for me, it was important because I was brought up this way, and my brother-in-law insisted that I go there, which I did. But after a while, I felt at my age, it's time for me to go on my own. I moved in with Martin and my cousin, and his cousin, Jack. So there were the three of us in a basement apartment, not too far from my sister Lola. Martin himself was an upholsterer. So was his cousin Jack. Martin had a good job, and Jack was not working, and neither was I. So we decided to go in to a fruit and vegetable business. I figured, well, that's something I can do. We'll open a fruit and vegetable store. And since Jack was an upholsterer, we had two stores that are next to each other. So there was an upholstery shop in one, and fruit and vegetables in the other one, figuring the housewives who are buying fruit and vegetable will also upholster their furniture. In those days, most people were upholstering their furniture. They were not buying new unless they absolutely had to. So as it turned out, there was some business, but not enough. And it turned out to be a very hard business, especially for me, because What we didn't think about is that neither one of us had a car, and we didn't drive. So we had to go early in the morning, about 3 a.m., to go to the east side of New York, to the harbor, and buy the vegetables and the fruit. So they would deliver it, but I had to do it daily to get the fresh fruit. So it was very hard, very burdensome, and we figured we made a mistake. So we decided to close up. We closed up, and both of us, whatever few dollars we still had left, we went to Greyhound bus and we bought a ticket to go to California. Well, we went to say goodbye to our family and friends. Everyone in Williamsburg talked us out of it. Oh, you don't go to California. California, there are no Jewish people. You're going to be there all by yourself. Never heard of such a thing. Why would you leave, go to California? But we decided, with almost everything we had, went to the ticket to buy the Greyhound bus, and about 4 days later we arrived in Los Angeles.